Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Miles, and today we're going to be talking about my tier list of every BMW M5 ever made and what order do I place them in. So we're hopping straight into it, and first of all, I'm going to start with maybe something that you were not expecting, which is the E12 M535i. Now, I know this is not an M5, this is an M5 tier list, and I'm not starting with an M5, which might be weird, but hear me out. This is like the predecessor to the M5. This is the thing that started it all, kind of the big saloon sport car type of mentality at BMW, and I think it earned its place on the list. It's practically the same as the E28 that we're gonna see later. Hey, so I mixed up my words there a bit. What I wanted to say is that the E28 and the E12 are visually really similar, but under the hood you'll see when I get to the E28 that they are very different and they're not practically the same car. Thanks. But I'm not going to talk about the E28, I'm going to keep that for after. So let me talk about the E12. Produced from 1980 to 1981, so really a short production for this model. It had a 3.5 liter straight 6 engine, which was the M90, and it was a single overhead cam straight 6 with 215 horsepower, which really isn't that much when you think about it in today's world. But back then it was fine. It wasn't like particularly powerful, but it was more than enough to have fun on the streets with a car like this. Now, the M535i came with a 5-speed manual only. It was a dogleg transmission, which means that your first is, when you're seated, I guess the first is closer to you, and then the second is on another row up right from the first. So you kind of have the first to second shift is a bit weird, but it gives you the ability to have an easier second to third shift or acceleration and stuff like this. It's something that we often see on these older German cars, kind of a quirk that they have, I guess. It also came with an LSD, so the limited slip differential, and I love the styling of it. Honestly, it reminds me of the 2002 Turbo, which is like a car like ever since like Forza Motorsport 4. It's been one of my favorite BMWs of all time. I think it just looks so perfectly vintage and retro. It's awesome. Another thing about the styling is it's got an off-center exhaust, which I think is another almost perfect thing. I don't know how they pull it off, but they do, because when you look at more recent cars that tried it, kind of like, I think the FK8 Type R had a center exhaust, or at least 3 at the center, I'm not sure, but it was at the center, right? And it's kind of weird, honestly, when you look at it. I don't think it works that good on the FK8 Type R. You've got the Corolla GR that has some kind of center exit, although I'm pretty sure that's more like the wastegate or something on these cars, because you've got the 2 others at the end, right? You got 1 more on each side, so there's like 3 exhausts, whatever. And yeah, I think it's a really cool car. It's perfect for its era. It looks nice. It looks like you would expect a vintage BMW to look like. And for that reason, I decided to put it in B tier. Now, I know B tier like this sounds bad, but the way I see these tier lists is really kind of B tier is like the average car. It's the average grade. It's like the middle grade. It's not bad. It's not perfect. So I think it's not like B tier is not a diss on my list, right? There's not that many. In the M5s, there's not like a bad car other than one, which we're gonna get to. But, this is not a diss to put in B tier. Well, now we're gonna talk about the E28 M5, and I mean, it's another great looking BMW. It was produced from 1984 to 1988, so a bit of a longer production than the M535i, and again, a 2.5 liter straight 6. I think BMW is mostly known for their straight 6s, at least that's how I see them. And M88-3 was the engine, double overhead cam, straight 6, so we got quite an upgrade from the last generation of the 6-cylinder that we have in the M535i. This one has got 282 horsepower. Now, I didn't talk about this for the M535i, for the E12, but the M90 that the E12 had was kind of derived from the M1's engine, which was an M88. The M1 is the great screaming 6-cylinder supercar, I guess we can call it, that BMW put out in the 1980s, I'm gonna say. It's got that classic styling. You've probably seen it before. Beautiful cars. And Now on the E28, it's another derivation of this engine, right? But this one is way better. Like I said, it's got double overhead cams, so naturally you just help the engine breathe so much more. You got almost a 70 horsepower bump over the E12, so that's gonna, that puts it a bit above the E12 in my opinion in the tier list. Now, in a similar business to the E36 M3, North America got a detuned engine for this one, and this is something that's gonna come back often with BMW. I've noticed like European markets and North American markets, they don't often get the same car, honestly. Now, most of the time, the Europeans get the better car, but there's at least one instance. No, there's two instances where North America got the better car, and it turned out pretty good for us. So this one's got ITBs, which are individual throttle bodies. This is the trumpets. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go check out videos. They sound so nice. So it just means one throttle body per cylinder. I think there's not many things better in the automotive world than a screaming NA engine with ITBs. I think it's awesome. So again, this puts it up there in the rankings. 5-speed manual only again, which I put a lot of importance on because I just feel like, look, I think if you want to drive auto, like you do your thing, but I'm really kind of a jerk about it. And I think an M5, a sport car, should have a manual transmission. And as for the styling, since it's kind of I guess it's kind of, you could call it the M535 Evo, right? It's kind of an evolution of previous model that we talked about, and the styling is kind of similar, but I think it's better looking. There's a lot of spots where I thought the M535i kind of looked bloated and stuff, and I think they fixed that, and the proportions on the E28 look almost perfect. I mean, it's probably one of the most popular M5s, right? For a reason. It looks awesome. Again, slightly off-center exhaust is a plus. They kept that from the E12, and I think this is something that only, I don't know why, but it's something only European vintage kind of cars can pull off, right? And so for this reason, the M5 E28 is going on the A tier on my list. Like I said, it's kind of an evolution of the E12, so I couldn't really put it under the E12. I don't think that would be logical, and putting it next to the E12 kind of doesn't really make sense to me because it's arguably just like, it's just objectively a better car. So now we're gonna talk about what I think is probably the second best looking BMW of all time, and this is the E34 M5. Now, it was produced from 1988 to 1995, which is a pretty long time when you think about it, especially compared to the other generations that we've seen in this video yet. And again, this one was powered by the classic BMW A straight 6, but there were two engines. I'm pretty sure they did a facelift, in the middle of these years that I've told you, 1988 to 1995. The first engine was a 3.6 liter that was 311 horsepower. And then in 1992, they introduced the 3.8 liter straight 6, which was 335 horsepower. Now, I don't think I have to mention it, but this is a double overhead cam engine again, so this isn't primitive technology, right? Now, again, this was a 5-speed manual with a 6-speed manual introduced in 1994, which kind of came at the end productions of this car. And like I said before, I wrote in my notes that this is one of the best looking M5 ever, but this is just one of the best looking BMWs of all time. Now, I think the E34, it seems kind of weird, the reception to this car on the internet and from what I can see, because I've seen Doug DeMuro and Misha Arudin, I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm sorry. I've seen both of these guys say that E34 isn't all that, but then I see a lot of people that think it has, the S38 is like the best engine ever, and the E34 is one of the best BMWs ever. So people seem kind of, it seems like there's a bit of a mix of opinions on the E34. Now, you've heard me talk about it. I think you've determined what I think of it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It looks awesome. Now, maybe it's a situation of don't meet your heroes, but from my standpoint, my point of view, like the other ones, by the way, I haven't ever driven an M5, so this is a weird tier list, I guess, because I've never driven one, but from my point of view of like playing video games and stuff, I guess as a car fan, the E34 is one of the best M5 ever and one of the best looking BMWs ever. So this one had a touring version also, so the wagon version, I guess you can call it. Pretty sure it was the first one to have a wagon version because the E12 did not and the E28 M5 did not. And for that reason, the E34 is going into the S tier. So this is our first S tier of the video. Now, I might get rocks thrown at me, but don't take it too seriously, right? I've never driven any of these cars, so I'm just talking from the point of view of someone that just loves car from, you know, from a kind of broke point of view, right? I've never driven one of these. Don't take it personal. So now we're gonna talk about probably the most popular M5 of all time, the one that is mostly unanimously the best M5 of all time, the E39. Now, this was produced from 1998 to 2003. It was powered by a 4.9 liter V8, which was called the S62. Sorry, I had a bit of trouble pronouncing that. With 394 horsepower, which is pretty substantial, especially in 1998. If you think about it, 400 horsepower is pretty enormous for these times. So I've got a bit of a controversial opinion on this car. You've probably read it in the title of the video, right? I don't think this is that great looking of a car. The E39, I just don't see why everyone on the internet seems to think this is the best looking BMW ever, and I feel kind of weird about it because I'm like the only one on the planet that seems to think that. But the front end of this car, I think it just does not work, and I don't see how people like it so much, because every time I see one, so this is weird, okay? The rear end of this car, the rear end of the E39, I think is one of the best looking rear ends of a car of all time. I'm gonna say it. The rear end of this car looks absolutely awesome, but I don't know why. I just think the front end does not fit, and I'm looking at a picture of the car right now and I still don't see the appeal. Even as I'm talking here, the front end just doesn't work. I feel like it's too slanted. I feel like the headlights are too bloated. It just feels too bulky at the front for what there is matters of design in the rear. I feel like the taillights, they work perfectly with the shape of the car. I think it's awesome. But then you get to the front and I just don't see what there is to like about this car, like visually, because I get it, right? V8 6-speed manual, a screaming V8, by the way. This is absolutely, look, BMW NA engines are really great engines. They're probably some of the best, at least, and they know how to build engines. So this car, mechanically, I've got nothing to say. It's just the styling of it, I just don't see the appeal. And this is kind of a weird opinion because the E46 M3 is my favorite M3 of all time, and I think the design language on both of these cars they feel kind of similar, right? You can tell that they were in around the same years of production, but the E39 just does not work for me. I'm probably gonna get rocks thrown at me for this one, but the E39 M5 is going in B tier. Is going right alongside the M535i. And now we get you probably see it with my smile. I think you can guess which one is going to be my favorite, right? We get to the E60 M5, which was produced from 2004 to 2010, and in my opinion, this is the best BMW M5 of all time. Now, I'm not able to say, honestly, I don't think it is the best looking M5 of all time, because there's some things that I would change slightly on the styling, right? I think the headlights are a bit too, at the end kind of goes a bit like fins. I don't know what to call it, but it's too slim at the ends. I think they should have cut it off a bit clearly, like a bit like rounder, kind of like the E92 M3, right? I mean, again, they're kind of the same years, so they kind of fit together, the color, the design language, and I think it should have looked a bit more like the M3. But let's just get to the sauce here. A 5-liter V10, the S85, 500 horsepower. Now, I know it's not reliable and stuff, but I haven't taken that into account for any other cars in this list. And when I was talking a bit earlier about the cars that North America had that were worse, well, this is one of those instances where North America had the better car. This package with a 6-speed manual, which was only available in North America, I'm pretty sure. 6-speed transmission. Look, 6-speed manual, 3 pedals with a V10 that revs to That revs to almost 8,000 RPMs. Is there anything better than that in the automotive world? I don't think so. I think V10s are the best engines you can have in the road car, but that's another discussion. Yeah, I mean, it just sounds crazy if you've ever heard it. It's insane. It looks great. I think it looks good. It's not the best looking of all time, but it looks great. And it has a touring variant that we did not get in North America, which probably was a hoot but I don't hear about them that much. The touring variant, which I'm pretty sure is the E61 code, I did not know that there was an M5 version of these until I did my quick research on these cars. Now, it's kind of a similar situation to the E39 I was talking about before. I feel like the rear end of this car looks better than the front, but the front looks better on the E60 than it looks on the E39. I'm gonna stop bashing the E39 because I'm gonna get rocks and tomatoes thrown at me, and I'm gonna sound like a hater, which I'm not. I think it's still a great car. I would still have one, but you know, if I had to choose, I wouldn't have an E39 probably. But yeah, the E60, I think this is just as good as an M5 can get, and this is probably about where it peaked. Now I'm not saying the next generation is bad, but like this is where BMW M5s peaked in my opinion as a car lover, a motorsport lover. Like I just live for this. This is all I think about all the time, and I think this is where BMW M5s peaked. So this one is going to go straight into the S tier, and I put it in first in front of the E34 M5. Now the next M5, we're getting into like the F10 M5 2011 to 2016. Now, if I'm honest, I had forgotten about this car, right? I mean, not necessarily that it's a bad car, it's just the previous years were like so iconic of BMWs, right? I mean, the E60 kind of iconic because of the V10, and you always hear about them, whether it's in good or bad, because of their reliability and stuff, the rod bearings. The E39, you don't really hear bad stuff about the E39 either. So like these 2 years are probably the most well-known years of M5s, and I think the F10 kind of flies under the radar a bit. I'm pretty sure it was a big thing when it just came out, but people don't really remember this year, at least for me. I'm talking for me personally, at least. I had forgotten this existed, right? So this one is a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. So we're getting into this is 2011, so we're getting into pretty modern stuff. Is the S63 engine and 553 horsepower. But we're getting a bit of a bump, though I think it's worth it to go from a 5 liter V10, which was the S85, to go to a twin turbo V8 for only 50 more horsepower. I don't think so. Like the S65 and the E92 M3s, you know, the rod bearings, they can be fixed for aftermarket stuff. So I imagine it exists for the S85 too, because they're the S65 was designed using, you know, the S85 is kind of the base, and the S65 was designed from that. It's kind of a derivation of that. So yeah, I think the F10 is still cool in my opinion. I would still have one because, as I was getting to, sorry, I'm just all over the place here. I just love these cars. So the F10 is another M5, which by some weird luck, the North American markets had a better version of, my opinion, because again, 6-speed manual in North America. So again, the F10 M5, I think it doesn't look too bad. Honestly, it's just that I feel like we're straying away. You know, these years the cars were getting heavier and stuff, which is to be expected. You know, you have more and more safety things that are added to the cars. Now, I think it looks fine. It's a big body V8 sedan. BMW knows how to do these, and it's not a bad car by any means. Yeah, it's a fine car. I think it looks nice. I would probably have one in manual, which is why I decided to put this thing in A tier, because I've got nothing bad to say about it really. In my opinion, it's a better dude, even now doing this video, because I had made the list before the video just to know what I was gonna say, right? What I was gonna talk about. But I'm just here, I'm looking at this tier list, and it kind of feels weird to put the F10. So no, I'm looking at this, and no, I will keep the F10 M5 in A tier, right alongside the E28 M5. I'm gonna show, you're gonna see the tier list. It's just that I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it under the E28 M5 though. I think it's cool. A recent car like this with a manual twin turbo V8, you don't see that often, right? I mean, by these years, like 2015 and up, I think we peaked in like the 2010s. And so this is when like we started to get away from actual experiences in cars, right? I mean, other than the oddball here and there, you know. I mean this is the last manual M5, so I think it just has to go in A tier. It's the great car, and it's probably really awesome to drive. The car looks really good, especially from the 3-quarter rear. Now, I know I'm always talking about this. I've got a weird obsession about this too, but these cars look really good from the rear. Now we get to the second to last M5, the F90. It was produced from 2017 to 2023. So now we have another 4.4 liter. I mean, it's the same engine as the F10. It was just, I guess you can call it an evolution. It was reworked and stuff. 4.4 liter V8, twin turbo V8 again, the S63, but this time it has 591 horsepower. So we're getting there up there in the horsepower, right? Now, my gripe with this car, it's all-wheel drive. Now, all-wheel drive in itself, I don't have a problem with it, but then this meant that this car does not have a manual anymore, and even though it's an all-wheel drive car, you can send all of the power to the rear wheels, which is pretty cool. I mean, I think it has to, you have to be able to do that in an M5. You know, in my mind, an M5 is just a car that you can throw around. It's meant to be kind of hooned, but at the same time, you can be in luxury in it. I feel like this is just something that the German cars have to, it's luxury, but you can beat on it if you want, and it's gonna take it. They're made for that. They're still sports cars. You know, their essence is still like to be a sport car. Like I said, we don't like automatics here, so so no manuals available means that it's gonna have to go down in the rankings. For this car, the pre-facelift version, in my opinion, at least the pre-facelift is my favorite for this car. I think it looks really nice from the front and the back. I mean, from all around, this car looks really good. They really nailed the styling on this one, in my opinion. I think this might be a classic in the future. Now, I know it's early to say this, but this is a good looking BMW. It does have the bigger kidney grills. I've kind of grown on them. Now you're seeing it on the screen as I'm talking, so it's really not that bad, especially compared to what we got on like the latest M3 or the one before that. I'm not really sure. But yeah, on this one, I think the LCI version of it looks worse. Other than that, F90 M5 looks really good, but you know, since it doesn't have a manual version, I'm just gonna have to bump it down, and it has to go in B tier under the E39 M5. So now we get into the last M5, at least the last to this date that I'm making the video, and it's a bit tough for me to talk about because, I mean, you've seen the car. Look, it's the G90 M5. It started being produced in 2024. You see, I'm having a hard time to say things about it. So 4.4 liter V8, again twin turbo V8, the S68, but this time it is an hybrid. I just want to clarify this real quick. I've got nothing against hybrids. I think hybrids are a good concept. I'm gonna shit on the car, but I'm not gonna shit on it because it's hybrid. So I just want to clarify that. Now, on the automatic, again, it sucks. Like I said before, the F10 was the last, at least to this day, manual M5. You take one good look at the thing, and even a manual could not save the thing, right? Maybe I'm pretty sure I'm not alone on this, right? I've seen a lot of people talk about this thing, but the G90 M5 is probably one of the worst things to come out. Look, man, let's be real here. It's probably one of the worst things to come out of the design offices of BMW. I don't know what they thought they were doing. It just doesn't work. It's so bloated too. I wrote it in my notes. I'll probably show you on video. It's just disgusting to look at. Now, I'm not really a big fan of AI, but I just asked Google what are the things that weigh almost 6,000 pounds. Because if you did not know, the G90 M5, it weighs 5,500 pounds. Now, if you add two big guys in there, three guys, you're going to be 6,000 pounds. 6,000 pounds, for your information, if you were wondering. Things that weigh approximately 6,000 pounds include newborn blue whales. I don't know, this is just insane to me. Like, I feel like we're gone off too far in the direction of, I'm sure it's comfortable, but like, there's just too much stuff in a car if it starts to weigh that much, right? We can not cut corners. We can cut weight in some places in this car, I'm pretty sure. And I think we're just losing the spirit of like having a comfortable saloon, a comfortable autobahn cruiser that you can throw around if you wanted to in the curves and stuff, right? And I just want to say it again. I've got nothing against the hybrid innovation. I think it's fine. I think you can use it. I mean, I think it's a good idea to have some kind of turbo hybrid mode when you want to launch the car from a dig or anything. The G90 has a touring variant, the G99, which, I mean, sure, it's gonna add points in my tier list, but you know, it's not gonna add enough points to pick up the G90 from like the bottom of the barrel. And look, I've got nothing more to say about this thing. I just don't understand how you can come up with that and be proud of yourself. It's going straight at the bottom of the list into D tier. What can I say, people? Look, so I'm pretty sure Richard Hammond said this before when he was trying out one of these BMWs. Pretty sure maybe it's the E34, I'm not sure, but he said that there has never been a bad M5 made. Now I agree with that, but I'm gonna add on to the quote, until the G90 was made. You know, you look at all these cars on this list. I'm looking at the list right now. I would have all of them. I would drive all of them. I would daily all of them, and I would be really happy. You know, B tier and up is not a bad car, is what I'm trying to get at, you know. So there was never a bad BMW M5 made until 2024. So that's it. Thanks for watching my video, people. Subscribe if you've loved it, and we'll do more of these in the future. See ya.